So I got this comment over here on a video where I was talking about the possible use cases of ChatGPT connectors. And honestly, this guy is right to an extent. So in that video, I was arguing that ChatGPT connectors should be used in more complex use cases instead of simple use cases. And there's actually a really good reason to why. That's because ChatGPT connectors uses the deep research tool, and the deep research tool uses the O3 model. Now, the O3 model is a model designed for more complex tasks, is a large reasoning model, and that means that it will take longer to actually come up with an output. In fact, not only will it take long, but according to this piece of research over here, large reasoning models are not good when it comes to simple questions. In fact, the exact quote from that piece of research says, "We conducted extensive evaluations across 28 LRMs, large reasoning models, revealing their inefficiency, inadequate accuracy, and limited robustness when it comes to handling simple questions." I actually tested this a little bit myself because I ran this ChatGPT connector tool with my Gmail, and I simply asked, what was the last email that I received from this sender? And I asked it 3 different times, and all 3 different times I got the incorrect answer. Now, why this guy that commented is partially right is because when it comes to complexity, you can have different varying levels of complexity. You can't connect your Google Docs and include a bunch of files on like the latest SpaceX launch and just ask it to plan the next launch. Obviously, that's way too complex for an LLM model or an LRM model to reason through. But when it comes to these use cases that OpenAI released with the release of ChatGPT connectors, I think that they're right on. The first prompt is a summarization prompt, which we already know ChatGPT is really good at. The only difference is now instead of copying all of the files that you have, you just connect them through your ChatGPT and you just ask it to summarize everything that you shipped in the last 2 sprints. The second use case is also totally doable. If you use the search tool to look for industry benchmarks for a specific type of feature adoption and you compare those numbers to your specific use case, you can totally do that with ChatGPT as well. The last one, I think it's a little bit more context dependent because if you have the root cause outlined in one of the documents, then yes, it will be able to find it because it's just looking through those documents and finding exactly what's written. But if it has to reason through why that outage happened, it would be a little bit more complex, I think. And then just to add on the second part of that prompt that says, and suggest the follow-up actions, I think that that's totally doable with ChatGPT as well. So the takeaway here is if you are going to use ChatGPT connectors, don't use that tool for incredibly simple use cases and don't use that tool for incredibly hard use cases. Go for somewhere in the middle. And if I had to say between a scale of 1 super simple and 10 super complex, go for between a 5 and a 7 of complexity. And that should be something that your ChatGPT would be able to handle with this new feature. And then last but not least, just keep in mind domain expertise here as well. If you're going to ask anything creative or anything like that, just remember ChatGPT's limitations.